Can you start a podcast with me, please? I need something to do.
Send it out in front of Malkin to save. They score! Elias Lindholm looks to the heavens.
Here's a chance. Potter right in on goal. He scores. Oh my! What a move by the rookie.
2-on-1. Pastrnak moving in with Marchand. Get into it. Score!
The zone. Coyle dances in. Backhand score!
Lindholm right wing corner. Pastrnak is there. He scores! David Pastrnak wins it for Boston.
Welcome in, everyone, to another episode of Bruins Tape to Tape. I'm your host today, Karoline with a K, and I'm here with my fantastic co-host, Maria from Watertown. Hey, Maria.
Good morning. Good morning. This is uncharted waters for us because we are actually recording, folks, at a relatively early time on a holiday. And we are enjoying our morning coffee together, which is a nice treat.
Yes. Hopefully we are coherent and don't sound too insane as we make our way through the last week of hockey, which has been surprisingly
pretty darn good, pretty entertaining.
I'm entertained.
Entertained? Yeah.
Is this what
they've given me no reason to have to ramp up my blood pressure medication.
True. Yeah. Yes. You're allowed to have coffee because you don't need to temper that. Is this what happens when you have low or no expectations, or is what we're seeing a real decent product out on the ice, Maria?
I think it's a combination of both. I think we all stepped into the season wondering, and again, it's early. We understand, folks, it's only 3 games in. However, we need to give credit where credit is due. So the page has been turned. A new book or a new chapter has opened. By all appearances, with the first 3 games, players themselves understand that they cannot have a repeat of what occurred last season. And I hope we don't, it's hard for us not to continue referencing last season because it was such a debacle that we have not been accustomed to seeing. So by all accounts, everyone seems to be on the same page. That includes management, coaching staff, and players.
Yeah.
So I say, let's enjoy what we are now seeing.
Yeah. It feels, this is going to sound really corny, but it feels fresh and kind of exciting. And maybe some of that excitement is coming from the fact that we're all a little damaged, not just from being lifelong Bruins fans, but from last year, just waiting for that other shoe to drop. We talk a lot in our Discord about, okay, this X has happened. So why is the test if they can tell us or show to us that they have changed their ways, so to speak, right? So they score a go-ahead goal. Are they going to give up a goal within the next 60 seconds? They didn't. Awesome. They took a really bad penalty. Are they able to stay engaged in the penalty kill and not allow a shorthanded goal? They didn't. Great. Or not allow a goal.
Period. Right.
Yeah. And so they've been passing these tests. They get down and they are able to stay engaged fully in the game in front of them. That's another test. So we've got a couple others that are coming up, road trip stuff.
Correct.
And I know you want to talk about this because we're setting the table right now, but the penalties, we've seen the Boston Bruins, especially even just a year ago, taking really terrible stick handling penalties. Those
stick infractions piss me off to no end.
Right.
Piss me off. Yeah.
Those stick infractions are always a sign of the lack of discipline, frustration, emotions
to me,
getting
it's
out of
also
hand.
laziness. You got your ass beat.
Right.
You got beat because you weren't skating, and now you're going to try to use your stick to compensate for that.
Exactly. And the Bruins were plagued plagued with those kinds of infractions at the start of last season. And it is typical. It is very normal to see in the first, I don't know, month or so, 6 weeks of the hockey season, to see the referees really calling everything because they got to set the tone. It's just how hockey season is. And then they kind of start to relax on some of the ticky-tacky stuff as the season goes on.
You think they will? You think they will? Because we thought that would be the case last season. And we're not going to get into officiating because I'm going to make a bold statement here. Officiating across the majority of all sports
Terrible.
blows. Yes. Absolutely blows. If anybody was watching football games yesterday, like I was watching football games yesterday,
women's basketball, like
it's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. Give me robots at this point. But give me robots at this point. But it still doesn't excuse the fact that as players and as a coaching staff, you know that officials are looking to call this ticky-tack nonsense. So that comes down to discipline and structure and staying and working within that discipline and structure so as to not give them a reason. Now, to me, there are certain penalties sometimes that you need to take, okay? Someone's potentially blowing by you on a breakaway, all right?
You got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do as long as it doesn't turn into a penalty shot. But in those instances, right, there are times where that's a penalty you got to take.
Yeah.
But the stick infractions, to me, drive me mental, and it must drive the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Crazy, too.
And I think what is very nice to see is the fact that we aren't seeing nearly as many of those kinds of infractions against the Boston Bruins at this point in the season that we did last year. And the other big test is, okay, they get a penalty. They're calling all these extra penalties. You see it everywhere. I mean, of course, we're gonna shake our fists in the air and say, well, they're just always calling against Boston because it's Boston and that's how it is. And they forget that, we don't have the same guys anymore, blah, 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 whatever. That aside, what I've been focusing on when I watch this team, when they go on the penalty kill, how do they respond? Does it demoralize them, or do they just switch gears and focus in on what is happening in front of them? And that's what I'm seeing. And that's what I'm really pleased with. Again, who knows what the officiating situation is going to be, especially with a concentrated schedule. If it still takes NHL officials 4 to 6 weeks to kind of chill out and let them play, that's going to cover a lot more games than it would have last year. Because, again, the schedule is absolutely bonkers with every team
is in the same boat because of the Olympic break. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
We have to remind ourselves that this intense schedule that we are going to see the Bruins go through, which is, again, another test of can they maintain this discipline, attitude, everything that we're seeing, the structure through all of these games, because it's not that they're at the point where they're making any of this feel effortless like it was during the perfect season. But we don't know how much effort is going in on their part. It doesn't seem like they are overly trying. Regardless, we're going to find out pretty quickly how long they can maintain this. But I feel, and again, we're still just...
I agree with you. I think we're going to be able to figure out this team's identity in the month of October, simply based on the schedule that they have, right?
Yeah.
And the teams that they are going to be playing. And I know we're making a lot out of the 3-0 start. And yes, folks, we're very well aware of the fact that 2 of those 3 games were against the Chicago Blackhawks and the Buffalo Sabres. Okay? I get that.
Those weren't a guarantee last year.
Right.
Everything is a test.
Yes. Correct. Everything is a test. And our test litmus for us as a podcast, and you can correct me if I'm speaking out of turn, but we are looking for a consistent 60-minute effort.
Yes.
We are looking for pushback, and we are looking for, let's not just tuck our tails and run when we get behind in the game.
Yes. Yeah.
We're not expecting a perfect season again. We're not expecting this team to be a front runner. We are all very well aware of the construction of this roster currently.
Right. Yeah. So lots of big tests coming up. We'll get into that a little bit more. So aside from the surprising start for the Boston Bruins, which again feels like what we were sold in preseason is what we are getting. Very pleased with that. Another this piece of news is obviously intertwined with the second piece of news, which is Jordan Harris made his debut, local boy from Haverhill, because Hampus Lindholm was injured within the first 5 minutes of the game at home, which is just horrible luck. And I have to say, if you like to lean into the hockey gods playing with us idea, the Bruins
screwing with us.
The Bruins could not go unscathed. There's so many insane things happening with the start of this season for every NHL team. The number of captains that have gone down, the number of freak injuries. I believe I don't remember the player from the Sabres who took a puck to the face during practice, and he actually had to be hospitalized because the cut got infected.
Correct.
What?
Yeah, nuts.
What?
And, the Rangers are going through it right now with some injuries. So,
and we'll talk about Tampa Bay when we get a little bit further into the pod, because it's everything is crazy. So this surely has to be it. However, the Bruins were lucky enough to have a kid like Jordan Harris come in and make his debut, his hometown debut. And I got to tell you, I knew nothing about this kid. I remember when he got signed, I think he was a summer sign. And I thought, all right, another defenseman. I know you always have to collect a lot of defensemen because there are fewer of them on a roster. And so if they go down, you got to have that next guy. You have to carry like 6, right? Or 7 or 8,
right,
in the pipeline in case of emergency. And so I know we were all highly concerned about the fact, not just that Hampus Lindholm, here he is injured again. We knew he was such a critical piece of the Boston Bruins' success because of what he brings to the blue line and I'm sure to the locker room. And for him to be coming back after such a long-term injury, everybody was scared. It's not the knee. They didn't say what it is. I mean, I'm going to make the assumption it's probably like a muscle pull, groin, something.
Lower body. So you
right.
guys,
Up his toe. I don't know. But so they call this kid up. What did you think?
I think he fit in pretty seamlessly, to be perfectly honest with you. So that's a credit to Jordan Harris. That's a credit to the coaching staff. I think we referenced that in our most recent snapshot, folks. And shameless plug here. If you want to get our down and dirty assessments after certain games, just give our snapshots a listen. They're short, sweet, and to the point. Jordan Harris is only 25 years old. He's a local kid, played nearby here for Haverhill High School. He is historically African-American Jewish player, which is kudos to him, right? He has, before he made his way to the Bruins, he had 165 NHL games under his belt. So he's had some experience and exposure to the big leagues. He had played for the Montreal Canadiens. I also think he played for the Columbus Blue Jackets at one point in time. So I liked what I saw. And
Really,
he got an assist.
Yeah.
He got an assist in the game against Buffalo.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I feel like we were shown just how important Hampus Lindholm is in that home opener because he left so early and his absence was felt immediately. And there was a lot of concern and a lot of chatter about, here we go again.
Well, and it did disrupt their pairings. It did disrupt,
that will throw a wrench.
Right. Threw a little bit of a monkey wrench into the game plan.
Right. My opinion always is, all right, if you've got a player who's out with injury and you have to plug in somebody who is not someone that maybe they're just getting brought up to be a body to fill the spot on the roster because you have to have the full roster. My approach is always don't be the reason they lose. Don't cause harm. Do no harm. And this kid, I noticed him on the ice. I heard his name a ton. Now, granted, it's still that point in the season where I see a number on the ice and I'm like, who the hell is that? I don't know. Who is this? I'm looking them. Don't know the numbers yet. And so, but hearing his name over and over again and watching him, I'm thinking, okay, this kid, I think he's a legitimate cusper in that if someone goes out for a longer period of time
or someone is struggling, right? If someone is struggling, I'm not going to mention any names because it's early in the season. Jordan Harris can, I think, slot in. So Mason Lohrei, watch your back, buddy.
I know. And I don't recall necessarily Harris. I'm sure he played some preseason. I'm not remembering. I don't try to store that information too deeply in my memory bank.
No.
But that was one heck of a tryout for him. I think, exactly like you said, he fit into the system. He's the exact right kind of player. Fantastic. And again, to your point, well done to the coaching staff to ensure that this kid comes in and he knows where he needs to be, what his role is, and how he can help. Because that's not a guarantee with any coaching staff. I'm less worried about the defensive situation. Let's just take a quick spin around the rink before we dive into what has happened over the past week. The coolest piece of news is, as of right now, 8:30 on a Monday morning, the Boston Bruins are one of 5 still undefeated teams in the league, which is pretty darn fantastic. And to continue with the theme of the weirdness of the start of the season, some of the teams that they are in company with, I mean, one other team really, because it's Florida, Boston, Carolina, Dallas, and Seattle of all teams. So I feel of the 5, probably 2 of those teams, Boston and Seattle, are a surprise to many. So we shall see what happens later today in the matinee that you'll be there representing. And
yes, I will. My first game of the season.
And let's see how far they can take that. But speaking of games and the schedule, I love to tell people, I say this, so if you see me on the socials regularly, one thing that I will always say is the NHL certainly hates its fans. It's because we had a fantastic start to the NHL season in general. Lots of wonderful hockey. We've all been starving for this. And then here comes Friday night, crickets.
0 games. 0 games.
Because what happened on Saturday, Maria?
On Saturday, there were 14 games.
Every game.
Did any of us seasoned fans hear nary a word about the fact that there were 14 games on the NHL's slate and calendar? They still are the dumbest pro league around. They are so afraid, either that or they're being squeezed by their partners to such a degree that they are being dictated to when ESPN or TNT are going to showcase this league. What are you doing? Now, I understand that we're in the midst still of Major League Baseball playoffs, okay? But you still have a partnership with TNT, do you not?
Yeah.
You still have a partnership with ESPN. You're that afraid of college football? To me, it's still, if you're going to promote yourself, then friggin' promote yourself.
Right. And that was going to be my point. Maybe truly out of their hands because of, football and baseball. So then turn it into an opportunity, market it, set the do something, right? We've seen them do the Frozen Frenzy. It's been a great production in the past. I don't think this was actually a Frozen Frenzy.
No, it was not, because it wasn't every team. But when you have 14 games,
do something with that. If
Do
it's out of
something
your
with it.
control for
Yes.
the scheduling, you've got a great marketing department. We know that the NHL can market the hell out of anything. We have all seen this, the commercials, the Stanley Cup videos, everything. The NHL knows how to put on a show. They know how to put on a production. They know how to market themselves. The question is, why do they choose not to in these instances? People are coming off of watching the Amazon series. They want to get into hockey. The number of people that I have seen across my socials saying, I'm just getting into hockey. What do I need to know? You just got to watch games. Oh, except apparently on Friday night. What?
Yeah.
So
I just
get them excited.
I missed a swing and a miss by this league. It's just, again, I still think they're dumb. I still think they're dumb.
Dumb and they hate
like
fans.
this.
What can I say? Anyways, so that was a quick tour around the ring. We're going to take a super quick break, and then we will dive into what we saw this past week.
Hey, Bruins fans, love the pod? Well, here's an opportunity to join the team. Become a friend of the pod on Patreon and unlock more Bruins content, merch perks, and the community we've built with diehard fans like you. For just $3 a month, join Gallery of the Gods. Get ad-free episodes, sticker swag, and a discount in the merch shop. Or go full legend with the Black and Gold tier. Bonus content, virtual watch parties, more swag, and full access to our Substack. No matter the tier, you're in the room with us. Tap the link in the show notes and take your spot on the bench.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We are going to talk now exactly what we've been waiting for, which is the games. We saw, obviously, a win against the Caps in their season opener down in Washington, D.C., against Chicago at home for their home opener, and then against the Sabres, I believe, and folks can correct me if I'm wrong, we talked about our expectations. And last week, you put me on the spot and you said, make your prediction. And I said, I need to see the first 5 games. And I said, I need to see the following. I need to see a good competition, like a very competitive game against Washington, because I wasn't really sure if they would beat Washington. Hadn't seen Washington play. First game, hard to say. But we know that they're a good
And
team.
Spencer Carberry said, we didn't play our best game.
Yeah,
so I don't know if that was,
well, regardless, because the game is also very mental.
Right, but still, that's a good team. Okay,
It is a
that Capitals team is a good team.
So, I said I want to see a competitive game against Washington, and we got to see wins against Chicago and the Sabres, and decisive wins, good control of the game, in charge of the game wins. I'd say, in my opinion, if that's the grading rubric here, I'll give them a 90% successful on all of the things that I wanted to see. Definitely A+ in that Capitals game. Chicago, I think 2 things happened there. One, the wrench in everything with Hampus, his situation.
Well, by way of an update, I am seeing that he is likely out for today's game.
So the Chicago game, I think also just doing a little bit of research on Chicago before this game. First of all, they were sitting and waiting for Boston. Boston was coming from Washington, D.C., where they were on the penalty kill a tremendous amount of time.
Five times. Okay, so there's positive and negatives to that. Okay?
Right.
Giving the Washington Capitals and Alex Ovechkin, 5 power play opportunities. No bueno. But
I think they were excited. I was excited. Overly excited.
I was not excited at 5 power play chances, but at least they were perfect on the PK.
Yes. So they go back to Boston, extra exhausted because those particular players did more work than is typical. Chicago was waiting for them, so they were rested. And Chicago gave the Panthers a little bit of run for their money. So perhaps, again, it's early, but perhaps Chicago is starting to make headway in getting out of the basement. Who knows, right? And then the Sabres game, that's the game that I would probably give the Bruins the lowest grade of the three. They probably played a solid 45, 50 minutes of really dominant play. We'll talk a little bit in a few minutes about the details of why they were not able to find the back of the net. I just wanted to see a much more blowout game. But again, once again, as my dad loves to say, here go the Bruins making a mid-level goaltender look like a Vezina candidate. So,
I know. And if it weren't right now, the
and that's
Bruins
not
did
necessarily an insult to Alex
No.
Lyon because
No, because he was Alex Lyon was by far the Buffalo Sabres best player in that game, hands down. He was ready to play from the drop of the puck. I can't say the same about the rest of his teammates. The Bruins put 16 shots on. Now, I didn't look at any of the charts in terms of, the quality or the high danger chances.
at this
But
point, years.
he had to come up big. That game should have been over in the first period if the Bruins could have buried some of the opportunities that they had, to which, some of that is why we put them a little bit in our penalty box, because when you're going to be struggling to score goals this season, when you are given those opportunities, boys, you've got to make good on them, especially against a team like the Sabres or the Blackhawks. Because if you give teams like that any opportunity to think they got a chance to step in and win the game, what is going to happen is what happened in the third period of that Buffalo Sabres game, where the Sabres finally got on the board. And then they say to themselves, so you're telling me there's a chance? Right? So they ramp up. Finally, I think in the third period, Buffalo showed up to
They started
play.
catching up in shots.
And they started closing the gap on the shots, because Jeremy Swayman, I think, only saw one shot that he had to make a save on in that first period.
Oh, yes. I agree. And especially, you want to be careful about giving a team like Chicago a little bit of a foothold, because I think, in my observation, and I'm not trying to necessarily rely on lore too much in this opinion, but Chicago, I do think that at least the players, and I do think the management, want to try and solve their problem of being in the basement. They have a history of success. They are an original six team. I think that they have a lot of pride in that. And it's one of those situations where they just can't get out of their own way. But they are trying. I don't think that they're screwing up quite in the same way that the Buffalo organization is. And the Buffalo Sabres that I saw out on the ice that morning, I was actually at my daughter's 10U game, Squirts, for those of you who played a long time ago. And I'm not going to lie, a lot of the things that I saw the Sabres do, I saw happening at 8:45 that morning. Stupid mistakes that you shouldn't be doing. These giveaways, these mess ups, like you just have no awareness of what's happening on the ice. And I think in the Sabres case, their biggest enemy is going to be all mental. That, to me, watching them play felt like watching a team that already had given up. Why try hard to make that pass, to keep the puck in, to try do well on a power play? And the number of times that they got robbed by the Bruins while they were on the power play that shouldn't happen in an NHL game. And
they are a rudderless franchise.
Yeah.
I don't even know what their ownership is thinking.
I don't care.
Lindy Ruff's time is come and gone, right? They just can't seem to get out of their own way. And actually, folks, if you want to get some funny social media content, just search around on X or Instagram, because there's some pretty funny stuff from Buffalo Sabres fans who have like already, 3 games into the season, they have already like lost all hope. But thankfully we're not a rudderless ship. We are not a rudderless ship.
Yeah.
However, we have to tread carefully in terms of, because we were bad franchise last year too.
Yes.
Right. And so we have a ways to go to work our way back, but at least we can see a blueprint. I'm not sure the same can be said of the Buffalo Sabres organization.
Exactly. So let's talk really quickly about the Washington game. What surprised you the most from our season opener?
The fact that they were perfect on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
They did a good job of, for the most part, keeping everything to the outside. Jeremy Swayman, solid. He looked locked in and ready to roll. The Bruins scored a power play goal, Elias Lindholm, and his just reaction to that power play goal was almost like a combination of, thank God I finally put one in, and jubilation that he's contributing or, contributed to that cause. I will say that the power play itself looks so much better. So much better. The puck movement out of our own end is quick. The passing is decisive. The shot taking is quicker and more precise. So Charlie Mack was physical in that game against Washington. So yeah, those were things that I took away as good signs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lindholm, Elias in this case, he is finally showing us, I think, the Lindholm that we were hoping we would see last year. In the first 2 games, Maria, he won 24 out of 35 faceoffs.
Fantastic.
That is a thing of beauty.
A thing of beauty. So important. So important in any number of situations. If he can continue that, and he's a guy that Marco Sturm can throw out there and say, I just need you to win a draw.
Yes.
I just need you to win a draw. Huge benefit to the Bruins.
Yeah. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm probably wrong, because they're all blending together at this point. It was either in the season opener or the home opener. Another really big surprise for me was that third line of Jeannot and Asimont, Mikey. And I wanted to kind of get your take on, after seeing that pair after 3 games, because I know you are his biggest critic. You're holding him to a very high standard, as you should, because of the insanity of the deal and all the feelings that we had about it. So what is your take on those two, or at least a couple games in?
I mean, I'm not going to say yet, it's too early to say he's as advertised, but what I will say is I like what I am seeing out of that trio, and also the trio of Pastelik, Karoline, and forgetting who the other guy is on that line. Jesus Christ. But the bottom 6, I think, have been doing their job. Doing their job and doing it fairly well. I mean, Casta has how many points? 2 or 3 points. He's popped in a couple of goals. Sean Karoline netted the empty netter. I think Jeannot he probably has something to prove as well, because
he knows
that is a big contract, right?
Yeah,
that is, and the organization has gone out on a little bit of a limb, right, to give him that contract, the term, and the no movement clause, because he needed that stability for his family. If anybody watches the Behind the B, that was one of the points of reference in the episode that featured he and his family getting settled, and his wife speaking to the fact of getting traded is one thing when you don't have kids, but when you have kids, it's, and even she made reference to the fact that while it's good to have that stability, knowing that you're going to be hopefully in one place for the next 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. We and also the media and everyone. And we forget that they are humans and they're people and they have families, and there's more to what's going on than just what's out on the ice. But I have to say, one of the things that I'm really enjoying watching that line in particular, and I believe they're being centered by Fraser Minton, is Eyssamont's playmaking. He is able to get the puck to his partner there so well. And I loved seeing Jeannot in what was formerly Marshy's office, being right there in the crease. He's got a goal already. He had a real good chance in one of the games this past week from exactly the same place. And that is exactly where we wanted to see him be in his particular role. So I'm excited to continue seeing that chemistry evolve and grow. And I think, again, to your point, and something that I think is probably in the penalty box, if you want, let's switch over to that for a minute, is the scoring, which we knew.
I know, and we'll give him a little credit to start the season, right? We've had scoring from pretty much all four lines, which is, again, important. Not secondary scoring is, to me, crucial and critical for any team to be successful in the NHL.
Yes.
That one of the things that has been a bone of contention for the Boston Bruins for numerous years, consistently and constantly relying heavily on their top line.
Yeah.
But when you have guys like Jeannot or Minton or Karoline or Kastelik that can pop in a greasy goal or a dirty goal unexpectedly, right? That can be a game changer. That can be a game
morale
changer.
booster.
And we even got Pavel Zacha scored a goal, right?
He didn't miss the net. He didn't miss the net. No, instead, he gave that curse to David Pastrnak on that game because
I know.
Pastrnak couldn't hit the net.
Those guys will get there. I know there's been something made of that, but Pasta's making plays. I don't know where he got into this hitting thing, but he went on a hitting spree. And was it
physical?
A game against Chicago? I think he had like 3 hits in a row where you're like, all right, dude, take it easy there.
Right. We need you to be protected, not,
But, he had a little bit of a slow start last season, too. And then after the first of the year was like a machine. Now, it would be better to get him going early, but he's got points. He's making plays.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, again, and I mentioned this in the snapshot this week, at this point, yes, I would love to see a lot more scoring but we need to make sure that the foundation of the Bruins' identity is established, which we know franchise-wise, the identity of this team is defense, solid structure, excellent PK. As the team develops its identity team-wise, I think then we will see scoring come from that. You really have to know your teammates to know where they're going to be. So that way you can pass the puck, make the play, score the goal. And I think that will come. And I see really, really great things happening on the ice to build that team identity. And for example, I believe it was the Chicago game that was highly entertaining, not just because they played so well, but there was a lot of extracurriculars out on the ice.
There was some extracurricular activity, which is fun. It's fun to watch. I'm sorry. I like that aspect. I think many of us who are longstanding fans, we like that aspect of the game.
Yes.
Now, I will say what I don't like is when a player is hit cleanly.
Yeah.
Okay. And they all know the difference between a clean hit and a dirty hit. Can we please stop with the bullshit afterwards and going after the guy? You know you've been hit clean. All right. Take his number. You know who did it. Okay.
Right.
And level a good, clean hockey check on him.
Right. Yeah. 100%. That's just outrageous. But seeing the team rally together, participate in these extracurriculars, that is another way that you build your team on the ice. And what is actually great about this condensed schedule is the fact that they're about to hit the road. It's a short road trip this season. They have the longest road trip is a 4-game road trip instead of the tour of the entire West Coast.
Right.
Because they just don't have the time, and they know that these cross-coast road trips are challenging and difficult on teams. So, but regardless, an early road trip, we've said this a couple of years now, an early road trip is one of the best things that a team can have on the schedule, because that's when they go, they're by themselves, they're spending time with each other.
The focus is only
24/7.
on each other
and team
and
building.
hockey. Right.
Yes.
Right.
So I'm really glad that they've got this coming up, because I believe last season they didn't have the usual lengthy early road trip. It was a few weeks later than normal that they were heading out to California, and then it
The
was
West Coast, right? That West Coast trip, which again we thought might kind of galvanize them a little bit. Nothing galvanized that group last year. So let's just like erase.
So
Now
let's talk
I
about,
know why I was struggling trying to remember the line mates for Karoline and Casta, and that's because it's our buddy Mara Kustadinov, who I mean, he's kind of been, it's all right. I mean, I'm not sure, right? So I know that Casta and Karoline have working their butt off. I think maybe this still needs to be a little bit of work done by our buddy
Kusnadinov, yeah.
Yeah. So
I was thrilled to see Kastelik's game against the Sabres. I knew that was his game. He had chances. He was everywhere. I heard his name a ton. And so I was thrilled when he got that goal. And I'm glad to see him back in that particular form, because he
didn't he try to go toe to toe with someone too in the Cats
in the
game?
previous
And,
game.
yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, this is great. I understand this is part of your role, but he also had the concussion issues last season. So
he's a good player. So I don't want to see
Right. He brings that grit and that grind that you need in the role that he's been placed in. So he needs to try and stay in the lineup.
Yes. He has lots to offer other than just throwing punches. So stick taps. What stick taps do you have to give out from the past week?
Okay. So I think we touched upon them, which is the special teams, particularly the penalty kill, has been great to start the season. What is not ideal is the number of penalties that they're taking. So that is an area I think you could put in both, right?
Yeah.
Both the stick taps and our penalty box.
Mm-hmm.
PK, the power play, holy moly, it looks so much better than it did. And credit to the new power play coach, whatever he's done to get in their heads and say, right? I mean, we all saw it. You have got to move the goddamn puck faster because it was too easy to defend against. So
I think, Maria, the biggest tell for me that I'm pleased with the power play is we got a power play the other night, and without even thinking, my initial reaction was, "Oh, good. Wait, what?" Because last year we got to the point where we said, "Please no, please don't
just don't even give us a power play." Right.
So the fact that my knee-jerk reaction was,
is the point of getting a power play opportunity to actually score on it?
Because we're doing the opposite.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But
yes.
The back end of our roster, I'm talking about the defensemen, particularly Charlie Mack and Zadorov, their level of physicality has been ramped up, especially Nikita Zadorov. He's been a friggin' wrecking ball, man. He's doing it cleanly, and that's what you want. You want those guys the opposing players thinking, Jesus, there's a chance this guy's going to wreck me. And Zadorov laid a hit on Rinzel of the Blackhawks during a power play opportunity that they had that I really think scared the shit out of the rest of.
I agree.
The Blackhawks.
Yes, because he stupidly turned, and even though the hit was on the numbers, which again, that in and of itself is not allowed in general. However, if the player receiving the hit turns like that, he did it to himself.
Did it to
'cause
himself.
You can't stop.
You made yourself vulnerable. Right.
You cannot stop 200 plus pounds of hockey player like that if you decide to turn into the boards. So I agree. I think in that moment, the Blackhawks were like, okay, if he's out on the ice, you just got to move the puck. Otherwise, you're roadkill.
Continuing on with the back end of the house, both goalies, both Swayman and Korpisalo,
Yes.
seem locked in.
Corby did his job. He waited patiently for Boston to do theirs, and they did. That's all you can ask for.
Listen, if it wasn't for Korpisalo's saves in the overtime period against Chicago, I think he made 2 saves like in close on Bedard and another save on another member, and then that gave the Bruins the opportunity for Fraser Mitten to be the hero.
Yes, exactly. So let's just real quick look forward. Today, by the time you hear this recording, it'll have already happened. The Tampa Bay Lightning are in town. This is another team that is experiencing whatever the weirdness is that's happening. They've started out kind of on their back foot this season. Vasilevsky is having a really weird start to his season. I don't follow Tampa Bay closely enough, and maybe you've read a little bit more about this, but it seemed like there was some kind of question mark around Vasilevsky because the Lightning brought in, I believe off waivers, another goaltender who then did play some preseason. But regardless, Vasi started the season and he's let in 9 goals already. I don't know what's happening if the issue is Tampa Bay's defense, but this is probably one of the worst starts that he's had to a season in a long time. This guy is
he's
effectively
averaging
a future Hall of Famer.
Over 4 goals against with a .855 save percentage. Now, one can say, listen, I don't know if he's getting a little long in the tooth, but this guy's played a shit ton of hockey over the years.
Yeah. Well, he's actually surprisingly he's not that old. He's younger than I thought he was. But still, you're right. He has played a lot of hockey.
He's 31. He's 31, which is, again, in hockey, for a goalie, in my view, for a goalie who has played as many games and has looked at as much rubber as this guy has looked at. And I'm wondering if he's one of these guys that just kind of needs to ramp up to that elite level.
It could be. And I think he's also one of the last of the goalie kind where you played them a lot more than they do now. You know what I'm saying? So I think he actually does have a lot more games under his belt than most other goalies his age or younger, because the approach to managing your goaltenders has changed so much over the past 10, 20 years, where 25 years ago, you had your starting goalie play 79 of 82 games. So, he's played a lot of hockey in the postseason. So he's got a lot of miles on him. You might be right.
But I'm not underestimating this team ever.
Never.
Because the firepower that they have on this team on any given day can beat pretty much anybody. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have been picked by many experts as, if not outright winning the Stanley Cup, at least making it to the Eastern Conference Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals. So, again, this is all early in the season, folks, right? And so we, as well as any franchise, know full well that there are always kinks that need to be worked out to start the season, depending on how your training camp is structured, right? And what your goals are as part of your training camp. So I don't think that anybody should walk into that building today thinking that this is going to be an easy game. I don't think there are any easy games anymore in the NHL, honestly.
No, I don't think so. And you're absolutely right. Tampa Bay, they recently extended their coach, so they've earned the right to be respected.
Right, and they have John Cooper. Yeah.
we shall see what happens. But maybe the Boston Bruins can take advantage of some shaky mental state going in.
Well, let's hope. Let's hope, right? Because that is also the sign of a team who understands what it takes to win a hockey game.
Yes. Yeah. And then they hit the road. They've got Vegas. They've got Colorado. Two really, really, again, tough teams to play against. And then they head down to Utah. And I think Utah is still quite a bit of a wild card type team. They had a great start last season. And I think they are still an unknown. So again, certainly going in with the attitude of every team is a tough team to play against. And as long as the Bruins can maintain that and maintain their perseverance in the face of things maybe not going their way, I think that they have the ability to be successful. And I think that and success isn't necessarily defined by winning. I would like them to win. I think they can win at least one of those 3 games, but they can have a good loss. And I want to see that as well, because it's coming, folks.
Well,
it's coming.
I mean, honestly,
I want to see a good loss.
My hope, and maybe this is being greedy, my hope is that they can come back from these 3 games, maybe with a 500 record. We'll see.
Sure.
I think if you can maintain and continue to get solid goaltending, you're going to have a chance. You're going to have a chance to do just that.
I agree.
And I'm expecting Jeremy Swayman to play the games against Vegas and Colorado. And then Corpusalo getting the Utah game, because the Colorado and Utah game are back-to-back games. I think there's enough time in between that Swayman can be, right? He's your number one.
Yes, I agree. I think, any final thoughts before you head off to the Garden?
The Garden, to do a little pregame. Not quite this early, folks. This is even too early for me to pregame. But no, I mean, if we can continue to see the growth and development and the staying within the quote unquote structure that we heard a great deal about, and I'm not quite sure that we're at the point yet of Cam Neely's comments where he said, want them other teams to see us coming in and say, oh shit, we have to play these guys.
Yeah.
I don't think we're there yet, but let's see what develops during the month of October.
Yep. Yeah. 100%. So next week we will be talking about the Tampa game, Vegas, Colorado, and Utah. And then the next thing you know, when they're back, our boy comes home.
We welcome.
Worry about that next week.
Yeah, more to come on that. That'll be a whole probably episode in and of itself, because that man is he's pulling his weight for the Florida Panthers, right?
It's very familiar.
Did we have any doubt that he would? But he's found a new home, and and if those of you who aren't keen to who we're talking about Brad Marchand. He seems to have found a home in Florida and seems very, very happy.
Yes. And just as a bit of housekeeping, we will have only one snapshot next week. So keep your eyes open for that. And any final thoughts, Maria?
No, like us, find us on all of our socials, folks. You can catch up on all of our previous content on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Substack. Please, consider giving us a review and help support us.
Yeah. Well, and as always, go Bees.
Go Bees.